Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 51. In this video, we are going to explore about the function group by. Without much ado, let's get into the Excel screen and let's start exploring about this function. Okay, before we start writing the group by formula and start exploring the options, first I would love to compare this group by with the masters of the data consolidation, which is pivot table. Friend, first time when I started to learn the group by function, my first thought process was telling me, why can't we do these things in the pivot table, which was much easier, drag and drop it, get it done. Why are we complicating it by using a formula? Later, when I started to research about why group by is better alternative compared to the pivot table, I came up with few points so that you guys can also come to a conclusion why group by is better. So let's start comparing these two options in four different dimensions. The first part I'm going to take here is the file size. If you are a person who is working on a humongous data, large amount of data, so let's say the minimum file size you people handle is around 15 MB to 40 MB. Now, when you want to summarize and study the data with a simple pivot table, not involving too many fields, just two or three fields, when you try to create a single pivot table in a file which size is already 30 MB, and when you create a pivot, now you can notice that the file size automatically goes up to around 40 MB. 10 MB gets increased already without even dragging and dropping the fields in the pivot table. So when it comes to file size, where the file size is very critical, you cannot take any extra inclusions in the file size because of analysis or because of creating a tool, then pivot table loses at those places. Whereas when you use group by, because it is a formula, it does not impact the file size compared to pivot table to that much. Probably you will see a file size increase in KB, but not in MB. So I would say when it comes to file size dimension of looking at it, group by is the real winner, whereas the pivot table is a loser. Now let's talk about the second dimension. How about the complexity of using this tool, the ease of use? When you talk about group by is a formula. So obviously you have to remember the syntax of how to use this formula, what is the meaning of each and every argument of the function, what happens if I don't feed it, what's the default value, if I want a customization, how do I get that done? So obviously the formula is not so easy. You have to understand every nuances. But when you take pivot table, the life is damn easier there. All you have to do, drag and drop, and it's gonna do the magic. Now, without even touching a single key on the keyboard, I can do data analysis using the pivot table, but that's not the case when it comes to group by. So when it comes to ease of use, I would say group by is gonna lose the deal, but pivot table is the winner. Let's talk about customization of the report layout. Now, group by is a kind of array function. When you complete writing it, it's going to throw your output like spelling of array. So it's going to throw it in the form of an array covering rows and columns. But pivot is also giving you the output in the form of a table, and the table keeps shifting when you drag and drop the fields in the four sections. But you have to survive within that table specific area. You cannot do any kind of customization. You can't design your own report styles. That's not possible. Whatever is available in the pivot table layouts, when you drag and drop the fields, we have to survive within those three options like tabular, compact, outline. So is it group by is better? The answer is no. Even if you take group by, it's an array function. It's going to give the output in the form of spelling the array. It's still going to live within that stipulated area of rows and columns. So in terms of ease of use, both of these guys are not user friendly in my opinion. So I'm going to say no, both of them would be loser because I can't design my own way of looking at the things. I have to take the values, referring them or copy pasting them, and then I have to design my own report. So if there is a provision of deciding where I can see what, then I would say uh, I would be happy in those places, but customization is not that much we got in both the sides. Let's take the last part, which is really interesting one. Let's say if you're a pivot table user, once your pivot table is created, when you go and change the existing data, when you add a new data, let's forget about adding the new data. Let's talk about changing the existing data. Now, it won't update automatically. You might have to refresh it. Some of the people would compare or would argue with me saying that we can even set up the refresh setting that, refresh every 2 minutes, 1 minute, or I can even do the setting like refresh when I open the file. That's all fine, but will it update simultaneously? Example, if I'm changing the input value here, will it update when I have the file open right away? No. Still I have to hit the refresh. Yeah, but that's not the case in group by, because it's a formula. As and when things change in the source, this gets updated simultaneously at the same moment without doing any refresh. So that's something really amazing. So there's no need to worry about the refresh part. So when it comes to dynamic data, refreshing the data, now group by is a winner, whereas your pivot table is a loser. All right, or I might have to take the help of macro. All those stuffs are there, but still pivot table cannot win compared to group by. So now you have seen in 4-dimensional comparison, the majority of the winning moment has gone to group by. So you know who is better compared to the other. But still, this is under my opinion, under my experience. But if you guys got any other substantial points where you feel still pivot table is better, still group by is better, feel free to put that in the comment section. I would love to hear it from you. So now let's go ahead and write this group by function and let's start exploring this. All right, let's start exploring the group by function in different scenarios, because I just want you to understand that what are all the possibilities we have inside this function. So let's take the first scenario. Okay. And before we start writing the formula, let's try to understand the data set which we are using for this formula. So the data set is this one, which is already a table format, which makes our life easier if you keep it as a table format. And the table name is table 1. I did not change the default name as well. I kept it as it is. So let's go ahead and use these fields and start summarizing it. Scenario number 1. I'm going to take one categorical column, one numerical column, and one summarization. Okay. So the column which I'm going to consider right now is product category, and I want to summarize by the numerical field revenue, and I want to use a summarization sum. So how do I write this group by function for this? So let's go ahead and start writing this formula. So let's go ahead and zoom it for your convenience. Equal to group by. Row fields is nothing but the text column which you want to summarize by. In my case, the table name is table 1, and the text field which I want to take it for the analysis is the product category, comma, values, which numerical column? Again, table name, and the field I'm going to consider is revenue. Okay, and that's my value section, comma. Now, what type of summarization you want to do it on the numerical column? I want to do the sum part because I want to calculate the total revenue contributed. Now, a small suggestion from my side, whenever it comes to using the group by function, the best thing to do is the headers is better you type it, so you will have the flexibility of renaming the headers or presenting the data with your own customized headers rather than the function gives it from the source data. Let's close the bracket, hit the enter, and this is the output. The best thing is it also gives you the total at the bottom, just like your pivot. So you can see the way it is presenting it. Suppose if you want to see this sorted by certain area, all those are possible. We will see those options as we go for the further scenarios. Now this is a very simple example where I have used the text field, a numerical field, and the summarization. Okay, so let's take another scenario here. I want to take two different text field and I want to summarize one numerical column and I want to use one summarization. So is it possible to do it? So let's take two text fields into consideration. So group by and my table name, because I'm taking two text fields of the table which are consecutive. So I can give them like a range when it comes to table formats. If you're new to the table format, we do have a video for the table format. I will provide you with the link of the video in the description section. So let's go ahead and write this right now, because I'm going to take two different columns which are sequential next to each other. So the first column is product category, colon. The second column is the product, and I close the square bracket. Okay, comma. And the numerical column I want to take is again table 1, and I want to take the revenue. And the summarization I want to do is the sum. Close the braces, hit the enter, and there we go. So we could see product category, product, and the total revenue. But if you watch the output carefully, it has clubbed the buses in one place and the respective items under the bus and the totals and the defense section and then the respective categories under that. It gives me that. So I could summarize by category and subcategory wise. It is very much possible, which I'm showing you currently, which you can see it. Yeah. And the summarization is only one. Now let's take the third scenario. The third scenario is I want to take two categorical fields, which is product category and product. Two numerical columns this time, not one, two numerical columns. And I want to do one summarization. Is it possible? So let's go ahead and check it. Can we achieve that part? So equal to group by, and the table name is table 1, and the fields I want to include is product category, colon, product. So that's my row fields, comma. Let's move to the next one, which is my numerical fields, but this time I want to give two different columns which are present next to each other. Just like we fed for the row values as row fields, the same way I'm going to feed it for the value section as well. So revenue, cost, and that's my value section. The summarization is only one summarization. I'm going to close the braces and I'm going to check whether it's able to summarize two different numerical fields, two different text fields. Okay, so let's see. And we could see right now it is absolutely working beautifully. Product category wise, for each product, what is the total revenue and total cost. That is also possible. Let's take the worst extreme, that can I summarize two text fields, two numerical fields, and two different summarization. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to go by product category wise for every product. What is the total revenue and what is the average cost, not total cost, average cost. This time I want to do two different summarization, one summarization in revenue and a different summarization in the cost. Okay, and let's take that scenario and let's try to write the formula. Okay, so equal to group by, again my table name, and since I'm feeding two columns, we have given it, and that's our row fields. Now let's feed our value section, and that's my value section, comma. The summarization this time I want to give two different summarization. So you got to use an additional formula in order to achieve it. So that formula is H stack. Why not V stack? Suppose if you are new to the H stack and V stack formula, we do have the video for H stack and V stack in our channel. I will provide you the link for those in the description section. So do watch that, and if you come back, you'll understand what I'm trying to do. Why not V stack? Why H stack? Because I want to horizontally stack the summarized values. First is the total revenue and stack the average cost horizontally next to the total revenue. So on the revenue, I want to do the sum. On the cost, I want to do the average. So I close it, and that's the I'm going to close my formula, hit the enter. Now you could see I got my product category wise for every product, what is my total revenue and what is the average cost. But when you use the H stack formula inside the group by function. One small problem which you will face is you will get an extra row on top of your summarized output. So this is something is disturbing because I want to have this as my heading, which I have typed it, but I don't want these guys to be there. So how do I get rid of this guy? So I can't take the help of another formula. I just want to drop only the first row in my array and keep the rest of the things. So when I want to drop only one row of my array, I can put my group by function inside the drop function. Again, take and drop functions videos are available in our channel. You can refer that and you can get more understanding. So I'm going to drop only one row in the array which I've got from the group by. So when I hit enter, that is taken care already perfectly. It works out for us. Now we have seen all the four different scenario: one text field, one numeric, one summarization; two text field, one numeric and one summarization; two text fields, two numerical fields and one summarization; two text fields, two numeric fields and two different summarizations. All we have seen it. But there are few more inputs, arguments are there inside the group by function which we have not discussed. So let's go ahead and check it out what those inputs really mean. So I'm going to go here and give comma, and the third, if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth input is regarding the heading. Would you like to give your own headings, or would you like to take it from the source, the table headers? So I want to say, like I said in the beginning, it's always better you go with your customized heading so you get a lot of flexibility. In my case, I'm going to just leave it. So I want to say I'm going to feed it, so I've set 0. Now the next one is whether you would love to see the totals or not, whether you want to see the totals and subtotals. Let's say, for example, in this case, if I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to see the grand totals and the subtotals, if I say 2, and if I hit enter, you could see right now buses and their subtotals we could see here. And then defense and then their subtotals you can see here. So the question is whether you want to have that subtotals or not. Yeah. And that's what this argument where we said 2 is comes into play. So whether you want it, and if you decide whether you want it at the top or at the bottom, by default it will be at the bottom. If you want it on the top, you can customize it. Let's say here also I don't want to have the totals, so I'm going to say 0. Come on. The next input is the sort order. How do you want to see this data sorted by? You got 4 columns. Would you like to sort this by the text fields? If so, which field? If you would love to sort by numerical field, if so, which field? So total output has 4 columns here. So let's say, for example, I want to sort by the product category in descending order. So how do I specify that? So product category means first column. So in my case, when I say descending order, first column, so it should be -1. 1 means first column, 2 means second column, 3 third column, 4 fourth column. And negatives will say descending order, positives will say ascending order. Because I want a descending order in the first column, when I give -1 and hit enter, you could see right now the trucks has come to the top, whereas the buses would have gone to the bottom. Yeah, that's because we are going by descending. Suppose let's say I want to sort this by revenue in descending order. So that is 1, 2, 3. So third column in descending order. So now if you see here, first comes the light vehicles because that carries the most highest revenue, and all the light vehicles transactions are here. Their revenues are presented in descending order and followed by the trucks data, and their values are again in descending order. We could see here. So that is what the sort order is meant for. So let's go to the next one. Come on. The filter array. So now what is this filter array? Let's say, for example, if you're a pivot table user, you would have used a slicer, you should have used a timeline, basically to slice and dice the pivot table. You want to filter the entire pivot table for a chosen item. So here also it is possible to group the data or summarize the data for a specific item. Example, in my data, I have the data running from 2003 to 2005. Let me show you here. You see here, my data is running from 2023 to 2025. So let's say, for example, my requirement is to get this grouped data, the summarized data only for the year 2025. So can I get that done? Absolutely yes. So that's where the filter array comes into play. So let me show you how do I modulate it. So here I go to the next input after this sort order filter array. Here I'm going to say, hey, why don't you use this formula table? So I'm just extracting the year out of my date column from the table, and I'm telling it, please make sure that is equal to 2025 year only. So now when I hit enter, this summarized output is for 2025 year only. So watch this. Before I hit enter, you could see these numbers. When I hit enter, now what I see is only for 2025. Now watch this. This year 2025, I can even take it from a cell and I can make this formula dynamic. So instead of me typing 2025 here, can I take it from here? And let's say I'm making it absolute reference when I hit enter. Now when I go and change it here to 2024, you could see I'm seeing 2024, 2023. So you can make this dynamic, and that is absolutely possible, and that's where the filter array comes into play. The last argument is pretty interesting one. What is this field relationship? Remember, when you sorted the data by revenue in descending order, it still held the hierarchy. Watch this. The revenue is put in descending order for every category. Okay, let's say for example, you simply sort by revenue column. I don't want you to keep this hierarchy and sub hierarchies. I just want you to sort by revenue column, treating this as a normal data table. Can you do that for me? The answer is yes, which is not possible in pivot table, but in group by, yes, it is possible. When you do not want to follow that hierarchy, if you want to treat this as a normal data table, you simply have to go for the choice 1, and when you hit enter, you can see the values are sorted exactly the way we want to see it, and it is not respecting any kind of hierarchy. But whenever you want to follow that and do it, make sure you don't feed this part. You can even skip it. The default is 0 and it follows and it gets the job done. So that's the entire parameters of your group by function, my friends. Let's quickly recap here. The first input is row fields, which is nothing but the text columns. The next one is your values field, the number columns which you want to summarize by. The function is nothing but the summarizations which you want to go by sum, average. Remember that in first 3 sections it is possible to go with one column or multiple as well. But when it comes to values section, when you want to go by multiple different types of summarization, you need to use HTAG. And if you want to get rid of the default first row, you can use the drop function like I'm using it. Now the next one is total depth, field headers, in case if you want to have your own field headers or you want to take it from the source, that argument will help you. Total depth is nothing but whether you want to see the subtotals and grand totals. If yes, where do you want to see it? At the bottom or at the top? You can customize it. The sort order is nothing but once your output came in, how do you want to sort this by first column, second column, or third column, output of an array. Descending order, ascending order. Descending goes by negative, ascending goes by positive. And the filter array is nothing but would you like to group for the entire data set or for a particular item. The last one, when you're sorting, do you want to treat the output as a normal data or you still want to follow the hierarchy? That is all inside the group by function. I hope you guys got some interesting input from this video. Go ahead and use the group by function. Let me know your experience on the group by. If I have missed to cover anything, please do share that in the comment section. It will be a learning for me as well as for our rest of the subscribers and the people who are viewing this video as well. And again, I'll come up with an interesting input like this in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.